If you want to attract something into your life, you need to be the version of you that is capable of attracting that thing into your life. If you want to create something in your life, you need to be the version of you that's capable of creating that thing. If you want to manifest something into your life, you need to be the person who's capable of allowing that thing to come into your life and being able to hold it there and maintain it. So who you're being is way more important than what you're doing. In this video, I'm going to explain why that is. All of reality gets filtered through your ego, your identity, who you are being. These are synonymous. I will be using them synonymously in this video. And really, the ego is a very clever illusion. There is no real self. There is no real ego. It's really just a series of patterns that interact with each other to form a very cohesive sense of self. There's nothing objectively existing inside of you that is who you are, right? There's no goblin in your head pulling all the levers and doing all this stuff. No, it's various systems interacting with each other that form this illusion of self. Right? Buddhists have known this for thousands of years. Hindus have known this for thousands of years. It's like really the core of a lot of spirituality. And science recently caught up and has also discovered this to be true as well. So your ego is built upon various patterns that play themselves out habitually, continuously. If you look at your life, a lot of it is the same emotional states, the same thoughts, the same actions, right? It's there. You can definitely identify patterns if you start to pay attention to your life, right? And the ego is fluid. It's actually changing. It's not fixed or rigid whatsoever. The identity that you have right now is different from the identity that you had when you were 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So your ego evolves. There's actually levels of ego development. And I want you to really pay attention to how mechanical and machine-like you actually are in your life. You are extremely machine-like. You do not apply really any awareness to your life whatsoever. If I ask you to start paying attention to the sensations of your breath, or the thoughts occurring in your mind, or the feeling of your butt on your chair, or your feet on the floor, right? Now you're being aware because I've triggered awareness inside of you, but before then you were just acting on autopilot. So the identity that you have shifts, meaning that you can change it. These patterns that make up the identity that you have, right? You can change them. Value systems, belief systems, habits, emotional patterns, avoidance patterns, coping mechanisms, thinking patterns. Right? And has all this stuff not shifted over time? Right? Has this stuff not changed over time? So if you change yourself, right, your life actually changes with it. Who would have thought, right? Genius level insight. If you change your psychology, your life changes. That's what I mean by if you change yourself. I don't mean this in some corny self-help way. I mean if you actually change the actual mechanisms that make up your sense of self, the way life organizes around you will shift. Because you're doing different things, seeing different things, thinking different things, relating in a very fundamentally different way. Your attention goes to different things. You see things that you didn't see before. Right? What you're doing will change. What you do is determined by your identity. What you think is determined by your identity. The way you relate to your emotions, to people, all determined by your level of consciousness, your ego, who you're being, your identity. A Christian goes to church. A scientist reads, science.com or whatever. A YouTuber makes videos. A priest preaches. A teacher teaches. Right? A soccer player plays soccer. Right? Cristiano Ronaldo was not just born a soccer player. Right now he has the soccer player identity. Right? LeBron James was not just born like a master basketball player. Right? He wasn't even born a basketball player. The identity of being a basketball player is something that developed over time. Right? It wasn't just always the case, of course, right? It's the same thing with you. Right? The outcomes that you actually get are determined by your patterns, identity, and energy, not the thing itself that you're doing, because the thing that you are doing is once again determined by your patterns, your identity, the kind of energy that you have. And our minds think about this kind of stuff in a very overly linear way, right? If I want to get what I want, then all I do is like exert my will and then I get it. And of course, in a very gross material way, this is true, right? If there's an apple tree 5 feet away from me, I can walk 5 feet, pick an apple off of it. Okay, like awesome. But if you want to build your life in a way that is deeply aligned with the core of your being, that's not how this one works. There's like subtler dynamics that you have to be conscious of. Right? And most people don't really raise their consciousness. They don't pay attention to some of these nuances within themselves, so they're just kind of like oblivious to it. So these forces that I'm talking about that make up your sense of self are not gross physical forces that you can kind of just hit with a hammer and then like you get an outcome, right? These are subtle. They're subtler than the physical realm. They're subtler than gross physical reality. They're systems, they're energies, they're emotions, beliefs, values, patterns, right? You actually need awareness to recognize these things, right? This actually requires a more evolved psychology to recognize, right? The only way you can recognize this kind of stuff is if you're not habitually stuck in survival mode and you have enough freed up energy to really contemplate ideas like this. If you're watching this video, that means that you have excess energy that you can invest into your self-actualization, into your growth, into your awareness, your consciousness, the evolution of yourself. So if you want to manifest an amazing partner, you need to be the person who's capable of attracting that into your life. Right? Let's say you're a masculine man trying to attract a very feminine girl. What does that really look like? Right? What are things you have to actually have within yourself that will allow you to do that? Right? Being grounded, being stable, emotionally intelligent, providing emotional security to her, physical security, financial security, making sure you can pay the rent. Right? There's core things that you have to develop within yourself in order to get what you want. If you want to be a YouTuber, right, what does that actually mean? Sorry, there were just some amazing birds. Right, that means creating stuff, creating content. If you want to be an artist, that means creating art. Right? A painter paints. A singer sings. Right? A singer has the identity of a singer. That is why they are a singer. That's why they're able to do that for a living. Because their values, their creative abilities, their actions, all this stuff is in alignment, right? In the form of their identity. Their identity, the systems, the flows of energy that make up their identity are in alignment. So it feels like flow. It doesn't feel like force. It doesn't feel like you're just like exerting will in this forceful, unconscious way. It just feels like alignment. It just feels like surrender. Right? And you can optimize your psychology so that this is the case. This is quite literally possible for everyone. We just don't really know how as a species. I mean, we do know how, it's just that on a more collective scale, we're very ignorant to this kind of stuff. Right? We're very ignorant about the fact that what we call ourselves is actually just a clever illusion. Right? We don't really like to notice that. We really like to think that, like, oh, I'm very real. Myself is a very real thing. But it's really not. So what do you really want, right? What are you trying to get into your life? What are you trying to manifest, build, create, attract? What are the qualities that you actually need to cultivate within yourself so that you are capable of being that version who can pull that in? Michael Jordan was not always Michael Jordan, right? These qualities had to emerge within him. They had to be built into his psychology so that he could be, right, one of the best basketball players, if not the best basketball player of all time. What you're doing is a function of your identity, right? There's like a hierarchy to this. What you're doing is at like the surface level phenomena, which is controlled by a lot of the thoughts you have, the feelings you have, right? The beliefs that you have, the values that you have, which is controlled by your identity. And really, I'm advocating for going to the root, seeing this whole system, this whole hierarchy, going to the actual root of it, the foundation of it, making foundational changes, deep structural changes that are, of course, in alignment with you, so that you can live a life that feels more synchronous, feels more in alignment, feels more in flow, feels more authentic, doesn't feel exhausting and like forceful and this kind of stuff. That's it for this video. I'm offering one-to-one coaching. You can apply to work with me. Link is in the pinned comment and the description. Take it easy.